Hey, this is Ben with Entre. It's my video style podcast. Want to just go over some world events, some finance things, some entrepreneurship things, some Christian things, and just maybe just a little bit towards the end some other latest news, or just finish it off with one just encouragement or some action step to take. All right, so it is Entre Friday the 17th. I hope to bring out a podcast that will inform you and to change you, and hopefully points you to Christ as well in your business day. So, world news, big news, bad news would be all the shootings, Vegas, school, just recently happened. Just horrible stuff. The disasters like Puerto Rico. I think in the Middle East there was an earthquake. Just awful stuff. Which leads me to a couple quick finance things. In Europe, this is off another podcast. I supposedly they're trying to create their own UN. In the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, looks like there's some family issues that could change up some oil things, and that leads up to some investment stuff on the oil stuff, as well as just what's going on in the stock market and Bitcoin. So on the oil stuff, we have the Saudi king having some family issues, and these guys in the Middle East can just lower the oil well below the refinery rate that we do, and can just cause some havoc with the oil. So hopefully, I didn't know all this, but since they can control so much, it's interesting to invest. So be aware of that before you invest in these type of things like oil and natural resources. Just know where it was to where it could be, and that who can control it at the time, and that they tried to play some games with the U.S., and the U.S. kind of has come back. U.S. has a slight little issue as well, a little keystone pipe issue. It's not just little, it's pretty big, so we hope that it's not horrific to the environment and the people and animals around. So just know your history a little bit with resources before you invest. Yeah, so on the other side of the board is Bitcoin. Bitcoin was up close to high sevens, almost 8. Then dropped down to 6,000. It was a pretty crazy week. My suggestion to you is to have a certain amount of Bitcoin that you are solid with. You won't change out. Have some that you will change in and out. Have some in some of the smaller, bigger coins, and as well as the little ones that nobody really talks about, because those are the ones that could shoot up really fast. So that is the story on Bitcoin. Be patient, hold the game, know what you want to take in and out, add some more sideline cash to it so that you can pull in, pull out, because it's moving fast upwards. And that leads to the next thing on the market. The market is moving as well up like you've never seen. We could say it's Trump, we could say it's Republicans, we could say it's a group that has come in, and they make things and shift things fast. Let me tell you about that. I am sick, so bear with me. I hate being sick. It's one of the worst things, but we'll kind of get to that towards the end. So hopefully you guys can handle this. It's pretty poor to do that. So anyway, so right now the market may shoot up. We have one disclaimer out there. I can't really say what's going to happen in the market, but this is stuff that I've heard or seen out there already. So right now it looks like the market's going up because of central bankers. They print money, then they invest. For example, Japan owns, I guess, most of their own stock market, like the government does. China looks like they're trying to do that, and U.S. might be doing that too. The critical factor is that socialism that happened in the past leads to dictatorship, and the newest form of socialistic takeover is not just taking a company like Ford, but just buying it up and then making government changes on them, and then they're forced to do stuff, and then it just becomes really bad because we have either a single party or a dictator eventually taking over the whole state of that country. And hopefully that doesn't happen in America, but it is one strategy that people wouldn't recognize would happen. They'll just slowly just buy it out from underneath them, control, set the rules, make it only for certain reasons, or set rules that will only benefit the certain class of people or an elite person, which is what happens in a socialistic state. And the people end up not usually benefiting at the very end, or one certain group does based off of an opinion or something, and then another group really gets punished. It's really bad. One group that we can talk about right now is an oil-rich country called Venezuela, and it has a dictator-type state now. It used to be one of the richest. Supposedly the people were super fun and super nice and just awesome people, and then they had to kind of fight for their rights, yet kind of lose that aspect of it, and now they're in breadlines. It's bad, and that could be happening in America soon. So hopefully not. So another side is on the entrepreneurship side is Uber. Uber has had some changes. They've changed the Uber Black and SUV so that they are no longer in Liberty Station. That's right, they cannot hang out at Liberty Station. They cannot even hang out in the Uber lot. If you do as an Uber Black or SUV driver with TCP, you will be fined and kicked out. I was warned, so I got kicked out. You can hang out in the cell phone lot, or there's this particular zone which is kind of, they're older buildings that the rent-a-car place used to have, and even the police want to kick the Uber drivers out of there. So if you're hanging out there, you probably can't stay there too much longer. So and then the other thing about Uber is it's slowing down. It's wintertime, so less tourists for San Diego. For other countries or states or cities, it might be different, but it is slowing down here in San Diego. The other thing, I just, in the Christianity side, I was able to speak to some students at the Rock, and that was a great opportunity, learned a lot, and it's challenged me to start this video type of podcast so that I can improve my speaking. So hopefully, if anybody's out there have any suggestions on either just podcasting or speaking, please provide that in a positive way. In such a light, I don't mind a little bit of either positive encouragement or positive things that I can improve on. Just don't slam me, So, thanks. So, one of the things that was talked about in Nehemiah was prayer, how God gives good gifts to his people, gives them grace and mercy, how the ultimate grace and mercy comes from the action that God has done through Jesus Christ dying for our sins so we can go to heaven. And if I could just read you one thing, that would be fantastic. And I have sickness. It is getting colder in San Diego, and that is a thing that's causing me to be a little bit more sick. So we do have a little something to read for you. So here it goes. So in reading the Bible, I would suggest looking at things that repeat. So in Nehemiah, what I kept on seeing is God giving. And one of the biggest things throughout giving physical gifts, he gave also grace and mercy when they sinned. But look for aspects of who God is and aspects of repetition. In this case, I saw that God is and was giving this type of items to the Israelites, but also just generally to us right now. It says, "You alone are the Lord." So there we go. We got Lord. 2, you have made the heavens. He's the creator. They're heavens of heavens with all their hosts. So he's created hosts as well. The earth, everything around us, the whole earth. He's created all that and all that is in it. So he's created everything in it. The seas, everything that's in the ocean, everything that's in the sea, all the surf. I surf. The seas and all that's in them. You give life to all of them. That means he gives life to everything. There's nothing else that could provide that. It's impossible. There has to be something greater than we can even imagine, and that's God. And this is what else it was said. And the heavenly host bows down before you. That's awesome. So whatever he's created, they bow down to him. Unfortunately, a lot of America quit bowing down to God, but there's a lot of Christians still here, and they still bow before God. They bend their knees down in prayer. And so that's my encouragement to you guys, is to continue to pray for this nation, its leaders as well. So let's get back into this word. You are the Lord God who chose Abraham and brought him out of Ur, the Chaldeans. So he brings you out of trouble and gave him the name Abraham. He is a giver. That name that you have, it was given to you. It was given to you by a family member, or a friend to your family, and those people were created by God. So you found his heart faithful before you. That's Abraham, and that's one thing that was stated in Nehemiah about as a leader, be faithful and fear God. It's one of the biggest things you can do to be a leader. You found his heart faithful before you and made a covenant with him to give him the land of the Canaanites. So he's a giver. He's a giver of big things. Land. Even like a little piece of land. It's so expensive now in San Diego. And made a covenant with him to give him the land of the Canaanites, of the Hittite and the Amorite, of the Perizzites, the Jebusites, the Gershites, to give it to his descendants. So when God thinks of you, he just doesn't just think of you. He thinks of your family. He thinks of your descendants. He thinks about beyond your own life. It's crazy. It says in the Bible, and you have fulfilled your promise, for you are righteous. So God has great promises. Read them in the Bible. They're for you. They're for us. And why is this? It's because he's so holy. He's righteous. So I hope that you see something about who God is and what he gives you. And it's the same type of thing that I taught the kids as well. And one action step is to keep in prayer, whether it's good or bad. And the other thing is, there is some bad stuff that I started off with this podcast, but let me read this last thing. It says, do not be grieved, for the joy of the Lord is your strength. And that's Nehemiah 8:10. So I'm telling you, you could have all this negative news, you could have all this stuff in the Bible who God is, but one thing else that it does, the Bible does, what God does, is that he's a provider of joy. So it says, do not be grieved, for the joy of the Lord is your strength. So find your joy in God. Find your joy in reading. Find your joy in prayer. Guys, I hope for the best for you guys. Keep on praying, and until next time.